everybody asks what their house would rent for, but not necessarily what it would net. And so I think it's a good another conversation to bring up today about netting and making sure your house sale versus rent and all the things, like knowing all the numbers. What does it look like? And is it a good choice or not? Because your house value for putting on the market versus house value for what it would rent for are very different things.
Two separate beasts.
Very different beasts. And they're not just one number, right? It's not, well, I could get this much a month.
Right.
There's so many other things to talk about. And we've talked about this in previous episodes, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper today on this. So the question is, what are the two different numbers? You've got the sale value, which is something I help market value,
Right.
which is not your tax value. It's not your what the mortgage company said on the online.
It's market level price.
Yes, it's the market, what the market's doing right now today, what it could sell for. And then what is the rental value? And that's something you help out with.
Right.
Because that ebbs and flows too.
Right.
And it depends on the demand and how many people are renting and size and so many other things. So
that's right.
Yeah, there's just a lot going on. So what we're looking for is, okay, how do we sit down and figure this out? Like what's aside from giving us a call, let's say they're not quite ready to do that part yet. Before they get to us, what should they be considering for questions to ask maybe? Let's start with that.
Well, typically the things I look at, you're looking at location.
Yes.
You're looking at, or is it close to schools? Is it close to restaurants, entertainment? Location is critical for some families. It really depends on each family.
Right.
If you have a single person and this is their first house and they're just going to go out and party, they don't care about location.
They might though if they want to Uber back and forth.
True.
Not as much as a family maybe.
But a new family, they're gonna want to be close to schools. They want playgrounds. They want entertainment in the neighborhood versus having to pay for entertainment.
Right.
So, but you're looking for all those kind of things. The big thing is the condition of the house. If you have 5 properties in the same neighborhood, your property has nothing whatsoever taken care of on it. And all the other ones, they got fresh paint, new carpet, those type of things, landscaped yard.
Yep.
Any of those things, they're gonna, the level just increase. They got more value.
Right. There's more demand.
Price.
There's more demand for those properties because they just they're more appealing, right? There's an assumption made that if it's better taken care of and has fresher, newer things, that it's going to be a better property. Even if you could have the same floor plan across the whole neighborhood, that one's going to win first.
That's right.
And so that one's got to come off the market before yours even gets considered, or you have to price it for that.
Correct.
And a lot of times your clients, just as much as mine, don't want to price it for that.
Yeah, we get a lot of, they base it off their mortgage.
Yes.
They tell us, okay, I'm paying $3,000 a month in mortgage. I got to make at least your fees plus expenses, so I can't afford less than $3,500.
And the house is 2,600 square feet. 26,
yeah, and when you do the market comp, we're going to come back and say, well, the best we can do is 2,800 maybe.
Right.
And it's the market. The market price is the market price, and if I could list the house for whatever you want.
Yes.
And you're going to get 0 calls if I do that because it's really simple. I plug in a number. I'm searching for houses less than $3,000 a month. That's all I can afford. If you're at $3,500, you're
not on the map.
You don't even get looked at.
I think that's what a lot when we pull back the curtain and we look at the clients that we're working with. Like you're working with landlords, I'm working with sellers.
Correct.
They have to put themselves in the feet of their potential clients and customers, which would be a buyer and a renter.
That's the hard part. They got the emotions in there.
Right.
That's why we're just the facts.
Yes.
We have the incentive to get you as much as we can because we make a percentage of the rent, so we're going to make more money.
Right.
The better price we get for you, but we got to be realistic too.
Yes.
it doesn't do either one of us any good to have a property on the market for 5 or 6 months just sitting there,
Right, because you're
because
losing so
both of
much,
us are making zero.
and it's month over month over
Right.
month. And the crazy part is we say that's the numbers and the data. There is emotion that does get involved on the buyer and the tenant side, but that usually just starts the conversation, and then they go fact check it later, and they go,
Right.
"Well, that's the most expensive rental of the whole house of the whole neighborhood.
Right.
I can get 4 other options here." And the crazy thing is, most renters would rather take a cheaper option that might be almost as good versus overpaying for a nicer
Right.
option. I I just don't see it happening because they are renting for a reason, and it could be for budget. It could be it's not forever, so they're temporary. They don't care if they got to make a concession for their lifestyle for a
Mhm.
year, and so they're not going to overpay for it. Rarely,
Right.
unless there's just no option, and it's the only one.
Correct.
But then that's now market value, right? And then on my side with selling it, if you're overpriced in a wrong market, which any market you're overpriced, you're overpriced. But worse if you're in a buyer's market and overpriced because they're just skating by. They're not even going to consider your house. And even if it is a buyer market, you might, or a seller market, you still might get that hesitancy. You might not get the offers as quickly if you're overpriced. And so it's just really important. But bringing us back to, what's your house worth for this episode? If you're not taking into consideration, you might have fees, you might have HOA dues, you might have property taxes that are going to change because it's no longer your primary homestead.
Yep.
Um, you have insurance that's going to be a different amount, plus or minus. And so you have to take all of those numbers off and go, can this really work? And then we've talked about it, we've said it in the past, it's like your 401k, right? Are you doing this for the long term or is this a short term band aid?
Right.
If you want to make money in a retirement account, you can't take it out in 3 years.
That's right.
you gotta let it sit
Got
for
to
30.
accrue for a few years.
Yeah, you gotta let it sit there for a minute. So if you are trying to decide, should I sell my home or should I turn it into a rental property? What's the value of it? It always depends. It always depends. And if you're looking at your mortgage and I think a really good rule of thumb for just the average person is look at your mortgage, look at your square footage. If your square footage is lower than your mortgage, you may not be able to make it work because usually it's around $1 a square foot plus or minus on size.
Yeah.
Sometimes you could see $1.50. What's the highest you've seen it in like a regular, like?
We've seen almost $4 a square foot.
For like a townhome situation? Yeah. I could
It's more
definitely say.
townhome, gated neighborhood.
Yes.
It's expensive for a reason.
Correct. The everyday kind of average buy box, 3-bed, 2-bath on average.
I ran the numbers. Our typical house in our portfolio, we're looking at a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Probably 1,700, 1,800 square foot,
Okay.
and you're looking at about $2,100 rent.
Okay, so
on average,
not bad, not a bad little, and that's a really easy upkeep at 1,700 square feet. And I'm sure those go kind of off like hotcakes for you guys.
And in our portfolio, we're looking at houses from $900 a month's rent. That's down and dirty. You got less than 1,000 square foot. You got 1 bedroom, 1 bath kind of deal to $1 million houses.
Yep.
And those you're getting 4,500, 5,000 a month rent. So,
but those houses are
on average
3,800 square feet, 4,000 square feet. So it's still kind of trending with that $1 square foot mark.
Yeah, you're in the $1 to maybe on the high end $1.50.
Okay.
On average.
And that makes sense. So that's usually the first thing, like, should I rent it out? Unless you're going to maybe put a bunch of cash down so that you can bring your monthly payment down. Now it might be a conversation of, hey, I want to turn this into a rental. I think a lot of people think that they could refinance it and that's going to solve their problem. But usually that just adds money to their bill, not really. It doesn't always make sense, the refi, unless you're going to save a lot monthly. But where rates are today, it's not going to be the thing. Back when the rates hit 3%, everyone was refinancing, bringing their bills down and keeping the same rent. That was a good time for a lot of people for a couple years. But we're not really seeing that right now. And that was a once in a lifetime, most likely event. So don't bank on that to be your save all. So if it's not in the situation that makes sense for you right now, don't force it, right? it doesn't make sense. But also, we're having hard conversations with sellers right now that are having to pay money again to get out of their homes when they sell it because they
Right.
haven't owned it long enough.
Right.
So it kind of goes back and forth either way, but there's not one answer that solves everybody's problem. When life hits hard, late payments, medical bills, job loss, or even the need to move quickly, many homeowners feel trapped. The fastest way out seems to be selling to a cash investor, but that means giving your home away for pennies on the dollar. You don't have to do that. Nearly half of homeowners today are equity rich, and that value belongs to you. With our One Move program, you can unlock that equity immediately, get cash in hand now, and still share in the upside when your home resells. Or, if you'd rather, we'll shop your property to multiple cash buyers so you can choose the best offer instead of settling for one low bid. Go to DunnDealOffers.com and discover the smarter way to get cash fast without losing the equity you've worked so hard to build.
To those who take the risk, who bet their life savings, their blood, sweat, and tears on a rental property to make a nice place for someone to live and a nice living for themselves. To those who get this call or no call at all. To those who keep adding more properties, it will all be worth it for you and for them. You care about preserving your investments. So do we. Real Property Management.
One of the things that you and I deal with all the time is you may have a client that they're tired of their house listed on the trying to sell it. So another option is flip it over, rent it for a couple of years till the economy comes back up, gets to where you feel comfortable selling, and sell the house. So we're seeing that. We're seeing a lot of unintentional.
Yes, the accidentals.
Accidental people where they're inheriting properties, and they're trying to figure out what I do with this now.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to call your professional and do your due diligence because it's a big dollar
And you don't want to make
outlay,
a mistake with
and
it.
you want to make sure you're doing the right decision. So call your realtor, let them know you're interested, you want to talk about it and look at it and see what the numbers are.
Yeah, because it's not a huge undertaking to figure out the numbers. We can get ballpark numbers right off the bat.
Oh, yeah.
Take over any conversations about, like, know what your mortgage is, know what your payoff is, know how much, maybe what you're paying a year in insurance,
Right.
what your HOAs are. That's half the homework. If you can come to us with that information and then we pull comps, we can kind of do an analysis right then and there. And it's not just down to like what's going to make you the most money right then and there. It's whether do you need the equity right now by selling the house and getting the cash out, or do you want to wait for a little
Don't
longer?
put yourself in a bad situation. Make sure it's the right thing for you.
Yes. And sometimes, there's so many times I sit at a listing appointment with a seller and they realize, we'll just wait another year. We'll just wait. It's okay. We'll wait another year. And that's a perfectly okay conversation to have. Like, you're not supposed to trade out houses every 2 years.
Just get the facts and make sure you're making an educated decision.
Yes. And not a decision that you feel rushed in, not a decision that you feel like you don't have all the information on. Like, it is a big enough piece of information to decide we really need to sit down and think about this. I feel like we're finally out of that quick, fast-paced market that was forcing everyone's hands for so long when all of our prices were going up so fast. Rentals didn't even exist for anybody during that time. Like, it was really, really tough. And something that we don't talk about often because it's not quite our wheelhouse, but like apartments. That's always a good option too. For someone on the other side of this, it's like, I want to rent a house, but I can't afford it. Well, go into an apartment and look at that, and then start working your way up and get to the conversation that we're talking about. So many people want to just jump right into it and be at this level, and they're not always giving themselves the time to build up their funds and equity. So if they want to have their own rental property, they can actually invest in a rental property and be a landlord.
Right.
Or if they want to buy a home, not being house poor, buying the home. But you got to get through that step first before we can do the next conversation.
Even though the market's the way it is right now, there's still good deals
So
on
many good deals.
getting houses. So
Yes.
you just gotta
Be smart about it.
you just gotta do your due diligence.
Yeah. Just ask the questions and do the research.
Right.
All right. Well, I think that wraps us for today on this one. If you have any questions, we're always here to help. And you've got your calculator on your website too
Yes.
that also runs the
Yes.
analysis. So
It's called Wealth Optimizer.
yeah. So
And
we
it
can click on that
run the
and,
numbers, and you can compare properties.
and that could be the first step of the conversation, and then go from there. Like, now what's next?
You don't even have to talk to anybody.
Nope.
You just log in and do it. So
We got it. We got a step for everybody and their comfort level.
Yep.
All right. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye bye.